Hi, my name is Grant Shipman. I'm a teacher with Living Smith. Living Smith teaches the gold standard on co-living property management and investing. Congratulations on being here. Today, we are covering the co-living lease recipe. 7 items that need to be in your lease for you to crush it. Don't miss any of these items. Number 1, start with a state-specific lease. So spoiler alert, you're going to have to make your own lease and you're going to have to keep it up to date. So you need the recipe for how to make that lease. And the first ingredient in your recipe is start with a state-specific lease for your state, right? So have that happening. The second item is you're going to include a household covenant. This is an item where all the roommates agree on these things with personal space, with quiet hours, with common space, with kitchen, with food, with parking. Living Smith has the household covenant as a key item of its 40-point complete household system. So the household covenant is your second ingredient in your co-living lease recipe. The third ingredient is include everything. Short leases are built on hopes and dreams and future destruction. Have a thorough lease. This is for the benefit of you and your potential tenants. This is very important. The lease needs to be mutually beneficial. It needs to protect both parties. You're the professional here, so make sure your lease is fantastic and includes everything. The fourth ingredient is have your lease be in plain language. Legalese does not make your lease stronger. In actual fact, it makes your lease weaker because your tenants cannot understand it. And potentially the judge going over an eviction, because that's primarily when your lease is going to be used, also might not be able to understand it. So let's hit the top 4 ingredients so far is start with a state-specific lease, include a household covenant. Number 3, include everything. Don't leave anything else. Number 4, have it in plain language. Let's keep going. We got 7 total items. The 5th item is online payments only. This is part of the Living Smith Gold Standard teaching that you have a paperless system start to finish. So the 5th item is online payments only are accepted because you do not want a tenant sending you a check in the mail, dropping off cash, saying the check is in the mail, or that they deposited it into your bank account at your bank. They're sure of it. No, online payments only because everything is recorded for the tenant and for you. If you use the correct property management software also, it will report your tenant payments to the credit bureau, which will help them build up their credit score. Extra bonus, right? The 6th one is property in common areas. Have your lease clearly state that if personal property is left in common areas, 1, that it's not allowed, that it can be fined. And the second one is that tenant, by leaving the item in their personal item in the common areas, is forfeiting that item in case it gets damaged, it goes missing, anything like this. This keeps a lot of things clear, not only between the property manager, you, and the tenant, but between the tenants and each other, right? So the 6th item is property in the common areas. 1, they can be fined, and 2, they forfeit rights to that property if it goes missing or broken. The final item is something extra important, especially since many of us had evictions moratoriums in their states or counties when the COVID pandemic came through. The 7th one is have a month-to-month lease. We do offer 2- and 3-year leases, but that is because Living Smith, we're very advanced in our property management. What your lease needs to do if you are a beginner is have a month-to-month lease with a 3-month minimum. This does multiple things. One is it provides flexibility to the renter. This is super valuable. It's such a favor you can do to them, and you don't need more than a month-to-month lease because unlike a traditional renter who has 1 lease on your property, right, and you're very concerned about vacancy, turnover is no problem because if you have 4 to 8 leases on your property, if a month-to-month person turns in their 30-day notice, hey, you've got 30 days to fill it. And if you have vacancy, you've got several other checks coming in each month on each of those leases, right? So month to month lease, 3-month minimum. What does that mean? That means that if somebody wants to turn in their 30-day notice at any time, they can do that. You provide them the flexibility. That means what every tenant in your property wants to be there, right? They're not locked into a long-term lease. But the other thing that it does is with the 3-month minimum, you are communicating that this is a long-term scenario. We want all residents to stay on average 2 to 5 years, right? So this lease flexibility is a great gift you can give your tenants. At the same time, you express, hey, 3-month minimum, else they lose half of their security deposit. So this is something that they're aware of. They're not breaking the lease if they move out in less than 3 months, right? But it's a 3-month minimum, 1 month renewing lease. The other cool thing about that is in regard to eviction moratoriums, guess what? You give a lease non-renewal and that person needs to move out. We never had any issue in our states with eviction moratoriums during COVID because if we had a problem with somebody, we gave them a lease non-renewal and they needed to move out in 30 days. And if they didn't, we could effectively evict them. So I want to repeat because these are very key. The 7 ingredients that your co-living lease recipe must include is start with a state-specific lease. Make sure it is current. Make sure it stays current. 2, household covenant. Have it cover everything. It gives the household pride. It gives them an identity. Have a vision statement in there. 3, include everything. Short leases are built on hopes and dreams. Long leases are fantastic. Our lease is about 26 pages. Have it in plain language. Have online payments only. Make rules about property, personal property left in common areas. And the final one is a month-to-month lease with a 3-month minimum. I really appreciate it. Learn co-living and you will thank yourself now and you will thank yourself later.